out and being a part of our service this morning and sharing a little bit about what they do and are doing. As you know, we're in our story of Ruth, and this morning I want to tell you a story about two starry-eyed kids who are in love. They were so in love that they knew that they were going to get married. Well, one of them knew that they were going to get married. Megan and I were dating, and after 3 months, Megan's like, we are going to get married. And she's like, oh, okay, 2 months now. We were going to get married. And honestly, after we got married, Megan's mom told us within a month she had a dream that we were going to get married, which I wasn't so sure about. And so we had been dating, and so she thought, well, we've been dating for 3 months and we're in Bible college, and where's my ring? And so she thought at our 3-month anniversary that I was going to ask her to marry me, and I didn't. And she thought, well, 4 months, surely 4 months he's going to ask me to marry him, and I didn't. And then 5 months. I mean, this is getting serious. She's like, he's going to ask me. And I still didn't ask her. And then in 6 months, I mean, that's eternity in Bible college. By then, everybody's married and they already have kids already at 6 months. And so she's like, he's going to ask me now. And I said, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this, and so stop expecting it. It's not going to happen. Just knock it off. I'm tired of celebrating this day and then you going and crying because I didn't propose to you yet. And then 2 months later, I knew that it was time. And so I went to Megan's dad, and I kind of was scared out of my mind, and we were doing some stuff with a nail gun, and there I was, and I asked him if I could marry his daughter, and I'm alive, so he said yes. And then I went to my grandparents, and I said, Grandpa, would you love to have Megan as your granddaughter? And he says, she's the best one that you ever had, so yes. And so the plan was put into action. The plan was made, and I knew what we were going to do. And so I asked Megan to go on a date with me to the mall, and we were going to go eat somewhere really nice afterwards. And so as Megan's getting ready, it takes her 4 hours to get ready. And so she was getting ready, and I researched where a park was close by the mall. And I said, oh, this will be really sweet and romantic. I'll take her to the park, and we'll walk. I'll ask her to marry me. We'll go to our usual date place, the mall, and we'll eat somewhere nice. So then I hid the ring in the car next to the driver's seat in the driver's door so she wouldn't know that it was there. And then we set off on Memorial Day 2010. We set off to Springfield, Illinois. And lo and behold, I got to Springfield and I forget where the park is at. So I go straight to the mall because I couldn't remember and I didn't want to get lost. And I'm driving in the mall parking lot and I park the furthest parking spot away. Like the last parking spot. And I keep passing all these parking spots and Megan's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I just want to walk. I'm like, can't we walk? And then I get out of the car and I pretend like I'm tying my shoe. And Megan's like, what in the world is taking him so long? So she walks around to the car. And as she walks around the car, there's another car that's driving by. And there I am with the ring. And I said, would you marry me? And she laughs and she's like, are you joking? And I said, not this time. And so she quickly said, yes. I mean, isn't that a great proposal story? It's probably the most romantic one you've ever heard of, right? Probably not. Well, here's another one. My best friend, his name's Matthew, he got engaged to a girl named Hallie, and they had an off day on a spring mission trip, and they went to Poland. And so Matt planned out this really beautiful day. He said, on our afternoon off, we're going to go on a carriage ride to a castle. And then as they were walking the castle and they got out to the front lawn, Matt got down and asked her to marry him in Poland in front of this beautiful castle on a horse-drawn wagon carriage ride thing. That's probably more romantic, right, than asking in the mall parking lot? Probably a little bit, right? I'm sure that we could all think about the day that we got engaged or when we were proposed to. I'm sure it's a beautiful time, right? Maybe it's funny and kind of silly like Megan and mine. Or maybe it was a more sweet and romantic and intimate one as my best friends, Matt and Hallie. But I'm sure we could all remember that time, right? It's a great day, but it's a promise also. It's a promise of saying, I'm going to be with you forever, but I'm going to take care of you. And you will be mine to be taken care of forever. And I will be there with you all of life, and it's going to be great. And that's what the marriage proposal is about, right? It's about saying, I'm going to be there for you, and we're going to get married. It's going to be great. I'm going to take care of you. You're going to take care of me. Sickness and health. When you cry like a little baby in front of the toilet when you're sick, and you need someone to pat your back, you're going to be there for you. That's what the marriage proposal is about. And this morning we're going to continue looking at the story of Ruth, and we're going to look at Ruth and Boaz's proposal. In the first chapter we learned about this love that Naomi and Ruth had for each other, but just how we're also able to display that ourselves in our everyday life. And then we learned in chapter 2 that Boaz provided for Ruth. He gave her ample opportunity to take from his field and to have plenty of food. But God also takes care of us as well. And this morning, we pick up and we see this proposal. We see that Boaz is about to care for Ruth. And that's where we're going to be at this morning. So we're going to be in Ruth chapter 3. And we're going to see the setup for the proposal. And the first thing that we have to notice is in the first 5 chapters. In the first 5 verses, of chapter 3. And the setup is actually done by Naomi. Naomi is the one who sets up the whole plan for how this proposal is going to happen. And this is what we're told in Ruth chapter 3, 1 through 5. It says, one day, Ruth's mother-in-law, Naomi, said to her, "My daughter, I must find a home for you, where you will be provided for. Now Boaz, with whose women you have worked, is a relative of ours. Tonight he'll be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash, put on perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, but don't let him know that you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he's lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So here's this crazy plan, okay, that Naomi concocts to get this motion and plan, okay? So she says, this is what we're going to do. Boaz, he owns some fields. He's going to be threshing the barley. He's going to be here, so here's what we need to do. Go get washed up, put on some perfume, and dress nicely for him. She says, Boaz is a relative of ours. He will be what you need, young lady. He's the guy that you need. This is who you need in your life. This is where we're going to ship you off. So this is what we're going to do. Go and do it. But there's a but there. She says, but don't let him see you, okay? Once you get there, don't let him see you until he's finished eating and drinking so that he's happy. And then when he goes to sleep, watch where he lies down to sleep. And then do something really crazy. Go and uncover his feet. When I sleep, I don't like when people uncover my feet. That's just weird. But go and uncover his feet and then lie down on them, which seems really silly and odd and strange. But she's like, but before this all, make sure that you're not seen, okay? It's really important you're not seen. It's rude if a lady is seen in front of the master when he has all of his servants and he's eating. So just don't do it. Wait, and then you'll know what to do. And then she says, okay, here you go. Do it, go, and that's fine. I mean, it wasn't uncommon to see the owner at the threshing floor the night that they're doing a harvest. He was going to take all that stuff and he's going to break it down and get the harvest out of it, and then he's going to sleep on the floor so that it's protected. And so she knows that he's going to be there. But it just seems so strange to me that she says, okay, this is what we're going to do. Just go and surprise him, and then you're going to lay down on his feet and it's going to be good. Naomi must have known that something was up, right? She must have first have known that either Ruth really liked Boaz, or maybe Boaz really liked Ruth. Maybe there's some sort of attraction there, but she picked on something, or maybe she just felt so comfortable with the fact that Boaz was a relative that he was just going to do his duty and be her redeemer. So she says, go, do it, and Ruth says, Sounds good. Let's go. So the plan is in place, and Ruth is like, okay, we're going to go do it, but let's continue to see how this plan takes place and what happens when this happens. So let's look at the rest of chapter 3, if you would. And this is what we're told. Verse 6 on. She says, so when she went down to the threshing floor and did everything that her mother-in-law told her, when Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man. He turned, and there was a woman lying at his feet. On a quick side note, that would scare me too. Just saying. Who are you? He asked. I am your servant Ruth, she said. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family. The Lord bless you, my daughter, he replied. This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all that you ask. All of the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true, and I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there is another who is much closely related than I. So stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants anything to do on his duty as a guardian redeemer, good, let him redeem you. But if he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie down here until the morning. So she laid at his feet until the morning, but got up before anyone could recognize. And he said, no one must know that a woman came to the threshing floor. He said, bring me the shawl that you are wearing and hold it out. And when she did, he poured into it 6 measures of barley and placed a bundle on her. Then he went back to town. Then Ruth came to her mother-in-law. Naomi asked, how did it go, my daughter? And then she told her everything Boaz had done for her. And added, he gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed. And then Naomi said, wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled today. Kind of a sweet story, isn't it? Like, that's kind of a heartwarming story a little bit. So Ruth waits until Boaz is full. He eats and he drinks and he's in good spirits, and he goes and lays down, and then she does the weird thing and she uncovers his feet, and then she lays on his feet, which is weird and silly. But in their culture, it wasn't weird and silly like it is today. In their culture, it was a place where the servant would go and lie down whenever they were sharing a tent or a chamber with the master. It was a kind of a way for them to have covering a little bit. The cover of the master's clothing would be used as their own covers on like a bed sheet. You know, that's kind of weird. Still, I think that's weird. But Boaz woke up and something startled him. I don't know if it was because there was a woman who's coming on his legs or if he heard something, but something startled him, and then he sees that there's a woman and he freaks out and he says, hey, who are you? What's going on? She's like, I'm your servant Ruth. Come and protect me. Put your skirt over me. The skirt was a sign of protection, but it was also synonymous with saying, I'm going to marry that person, or I am married to that person. And so Ruth says, hey, place your cover over me as a proposal. She's pretty direct. She's like, hey, you're proposing to me right now, okay? I'm so thankful Megan didn't do that whenever we were dating. But she says, hey, this is what's happening. You're going to propose, and here's what you need to do. It's only if it was that simple. But Boaz is surprised. He's kind of shocked at the fact that she's asking him to marry her. And all of my study and all of my research while preparing, I always assumed that Boaz was a young, strapping, good-looking man. You can't tell because my name is Boaz. But I always figured he was a young, strapping, good-looking man who was a hard worker and was rich. But in my studies, I found the opposite was true. He was naturally an older man, a much, much older man. When his years were numbered, And so he's surprised that Ruth, who was younger, wanted to marry him. He says, well, I'm surprised that you didn't go off and run off to someone younger. I'm surprised that you didn't want somebody who's closer to your age. Like, this is kind of shocking that you want to be with me. But he says, I'm going to give you what you want, though. I'm going to propose. But there's another one. There's another guy. He's closer to your age. If he wants to be married to you, good, I'll let him have it. It's his right. But if not, I'm more than willing to do this. And so he says, I will give you that promise. I'm going to grant your request. I'm going to marry you. And so she stays. He says, stay here. It'll be good. So she stays. And then she gets up early before anybody can tell, before the sun rises, so that she can be out of there. And she gets up to leave. But he says, before you leave, let me give you some stuff. Let me give you this measure of barley. Let me give you this stuff before you leave. But make sure that no one knows that you are here. Boaz doesn't need a scandal. As we learned in chapter 1, Boaz was a man of good standing. He had good character. He didn't need somebody to say, well, what's he doing with her? Or what's going on? He wanted to make sure that everything was fine and good and clean. So he's like, leave before anybody knows. But he gives her the stuff. He gives her food. And he gives her 6 measures of barley, which is 2 ephah, which is double what she had last week, which is what we learned was 24 pounds. He gave her 48 pounds this time. It's a lot of food to be given out. And then she goes home. Ruth goes home, and Naomi says, how did it go? She's kind of excited. She's like, tell me what happened. And so Ruth tells her everything that goes on. And so Naomi says, wait for Boaz. And then that's chapter 3. That's our summary of chapter 3. But really, chapter 3 could be summed up with this. It says, really, it could be summed up with the fact that Boaz cares. Once we saw, even in chapter 2, once he saw laid eyes and he kind of started providing for her, you could really tell that he cared for Ruth. So chapter 3 could really just be summed up with Boaz cares. And that's why he's proposing. And that's why he's trying to protect and provide for her. He cares enough for her to say, hey, I'm going to marry you. I care for you to make sure that you could possibly have a child and the family name could continue being passed on and everything's going to be good. He says, I'm going to care. I'm going to be there for you. And even though Naomi is the one who sets the plan into place, Boaz still cares. And he's saying, it's time for me to tell Ruth this. So the question is what is this story and what is the other 2 engagement stories of me and Megan's engagement and Matt and Hallie's engagement? How does that have to deal with us today? What does that do? That seems odd, right? But I think it resembles our relationship with Jesus Christ very well. We are told that when we become a part of the family of God, we're called the bridegroom of Christ, right? We're called the bride. The church is called the bridegroom. And the bridegroom is really just the bride. And so in a sense, we're kind of engaged. We're married to Christ and our relationship with him. Like I said before, when we get engaged, whenever we get married, typically it's a sign of us saying, hey, I'm going to care for you. I'm going to be there for you through thick and thin. Right? When I became engaged, I'm like, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to be there. When I got engaged to Megan, we had been dating for 8 months at that time. I already cared for Megan a lot. But when we got engaged, I said, I'm going to stop caring for myself and I'm going to care for you and I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to provide for you. Which I say this because we are celebrating our 5th anniversary on Saturday, so it kind of ties in really well. But when Jesus came, Jesus said the same thing for you and I. Jesus came and he says, I'm going to care for you no matter what. I'm going to think of you more than I'm going to think about myself. And that's what we get when Jesus took the cross for you and I. When Jesus died on the cross, he said, I care for you more than I care for myself. He says, you don't have to do that. You don't have to take that punishment that you deserve. Instead, I'm going to take that for you. We're told that before we're even born, God cares for us. We're told that, before we're even born in the womb, God called us to do His work. And so before we're even born, God cared enough about us to say, I want you to do my work. I'm going to have you do my mission for me. I'm going to have you do ministry for me. He cared for us even before we were born. And then He tells us, now, man, I know you're worried about stuff. I know you're anxious. I know that you have things that are wearing yourself out, and I want you to get rid of those things. And so He says to us in 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 7, He tells us this. He says, cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. He says, I know that you have stuff that causes you to be anxious. Get rid of that. Let me have it so that I can take care of you. One of the things that I've been super anxious about and worried about since we've been here is our house. We still have our house. And once we had a contract and we thought we had the house sold, and then it fell through. And now we still have the house, and it's something that I'm anxious about. And I'm like, man, I don't want to be done. But I've had to slow down and say, okay, God, this worries me. Will you take it from me, and will you allow it to be something that you have glory through? Can you do whatever you want with this situation? And it's not an easy lesson to learn. It's not the most amazing one. I'm not a doctor, so I don't have a lot of patience sometimes. That was a doctor joke. So, but it's a lesson that's needed. This morning, if you're anxious about something, turn it over to God. Allow Him to carry that for you, because that's what He wants. He wants us to take off all those things that weigh us down. He wants us to take off all those burdens and worries that we have and to lay them at His feet. We're told that His yoke is light and easy. He says, take off your yoke. Take off the stuff that weighs you down and put on mine, because it's light. Give them up to me. He wants us to say, Lord, I need help. I need help with this situation in my life. Will you please give me the strength to do that? Can you please take this situation from me? And He's going to say, absolutely. That's what He wants. The truth is, God cares for us more than anybody else ever could. I'm married and I love Megan very much, and I care for Megan very much, but God cares for her so much more than I can ever love and care for her. And that's the same with us as well. God cares for us more than anybody else. He cares, and He knows that once we become a part of His family, He says, okay, hey, I'm here to care for you. We all love our spouses. We all love family members. We all love maybe our neighbors or the person sitting next to you in the pew. We all love people, and we all care for them. But God cares for them as well. We know that God cares for us before we were even born. Like I said, God called us before we were born to do His work. God cares for us, and knowing that instead of giving us the punishment that we deserve on the cross, He cared enough to say, I'm going to give that to my Son, who can take that. And He does it because He cares for you. And we know that God cares for us enough to take our anxiety and our worries and our cares. It's told us right there. He cares for us enough to say, hey, whatever is bothering you, take it off. Here it is. And it's just like any other relationship, right? When you're married, or when you're friends, or when you have a spouse or whatever, you care for them, right? You care about what they're going through and what they're dealing with. And you say, hey, talk with me. Let me help you. Or I'm going to step in when maybe you deserve or you don't deserve to have that harsh word. I'll step in and I'll take that for you. That's what God does for us. He cares for us, just as Boaz cares for Ruth. And that's pretty evident. I think that's pretty clear as we look at the story of Ruth, that He cares for her. He's protecting and providing, and He's giving her everything that she could possibly need, just as God does that for us as well. So this morning, if you feel lonely, if you feel like you're uncared for, know that that is a complete lie, and that's not true at all. You're surrounded by a church family who loves and cares for you, but you're also surrounded by God who cares for you as well. If you feel lonely, if you feel uncared for, call out to God. Say, God, I need you. Come here this morning. I'm going to invite our musicians to come forward as we prepare to sing our invitation song. But this morning, if you feel that way, if you feel uncared for, if you feel unloved, know that, man, God is right there with us. And we're a part of that family of God, but we're also a part of a church family here who care and love. And so if you have a need, I invite you to just have that shared. If you want to talk about anything, baptism, joining our church, anything else, I would be more than willing to do that as we stand and sing our invitation song, just as I am.